So today, guys, we're going to be making corned beef filled fried dumplings. So first off, we want to get 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So 1 more cup. Don't worry about sifting. This is a very easy, rough recipe. We're going to have half a teaspoon of salt. I didn't do a full teaspoon because corned beef is already salty. Baking powder, a tablespoon. And then we want a tablespoon of sugar, just to sweeten it up a little bit. Then you want to mix all those dry ingredients together and then make a little well in the middle. Then what you want to do is you want to get about a tablespoon of butter, melted butter, put that in the center. Now before we start kneading that in, you want to get 1 cup of cold water and just set that aside. Kneading the butter to the dry ingredients until it's crumbly. And then you want to make another little well in the center for the cold water. Now you want to add this in very bit by bit, not all at once, otherwise you get a sticky dough, which is really difficult to work with and it takes longer to get fluffy. So just add it gradually, bit by bit. And you don't want to knead the dough too much. Kneading the dough too much makes the dough hard and too dense. You just want to move it around, make sure the water's in. Then you want to flour up the outside just to keep it dry on the outside. Don't worry too much about it being perfect, guys. It doesn't need to be perfect at all. Just roll it into a nice ball. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. So make sure it's floured on the outside. You want to get a wet paper towel and just sit that on top and then set it aside while you prep all your veggies. So we've got scotch bonnets, green peppers, yellow peppers, red peppers, onion and minced garlic. Make sure you mince the garlic. There's nothing worse than eating pieces of garlic. Then you want some paprika and the corned beef. We don't want to put too much in there. We want to mince up very small because we don't want to break the patties. So make sure you're all piping hot. Add your onions, peppers, garlic, scotch bonnet, and fry that up on a medium to high heat. I use quite a bit of oil just because corned beef is going to be added after. Okay, so now you want to add your paprika. It's more for colouring than anything. Judge it by how you like it. For me, I like my food to have quite a bit of colour, so I decided I'd add a little bit more. Just a touch. And let that sit in. Now you want to start adding your corned beef. I usually chop it up into little squares in the can before I put it out, just so it's easier to get out the can. Then you just want to chop it up into loads of small pieces. Keep mushing it down. With the corned beef, you don't want it to be chunky in these dumplings because it will break up and take up too much space inside the dumpling. So you can cook this for a little bit longer than you usually would if you put it on top of rice. You can get it into a nice mushy consistency. So once you've broken it all down, you can let it sit for about 7 minutes more, just to make sure it gets nice and soft. And marinates all that flavour in. So let it sit. This is the consistency you're going to get. It might not look appealing, but let me tell you, it packs flavour. Flavors. Okay, so now you're going to dust down your side. Get the dough out. And you're going to break off some pieces once you've softened it up again. Break off some pieces. Roll it into a ball. And you're just going to roughly pat it out. Put it on the flour so it doesn't get sticky. Roughly pat it out. You don't want the pastry to be too thin, guys, because this corned beef will break through. And you don't want it to split when it's in the dumpling. So nice and thick. Yeah. Now, don't worry about them being really uniformed and perfectly round. It doesn't matter. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. You can use those circle cutters with rolling pins. I don't need to do that because I know they need to be thick. It doesn't really matter. They're all going down the same hole. Okay. So now that they're all done, we're going to start to fill them with the corned beef. Like I said, don't worry about the sizes. And then with the corned beef, you're just going to judge. Get yourself a spoon and just judge sort of how much you think needs to go in there. It's always better to start with a smaller amount, and if you feel like you need more, you can add more after. So you want to pull it sort of outward a little bit, stretch it, and then tuck it in. Don't worry if it doesn't tuck in straight away. You will. Just keep folding it over and into each other. Like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. Sort of fold it in and press it down. There you go. Now they're going to look a little bit flat, but don't worry, because once they go in the oil, they puff up. So keep them flat, that's fine. And another one just to show you, pull out, over, out, and in on itself. And just tuck it all in and push it down. See? There we go. One more just to show you. That pulling out is important. That's what she said. Anywho, right, onto the frying. So I put that little bit of dough in there just to see how hot the oil is first. Then we're going to put in our first dumpling. Boom, that's what you want to see. Now, you don't want to put too many in the pan at once because they're quite big and they're filled inside. You want to make sure they're cooked nicely. So I just did 2. Make sure you put some paper towel on a plate to put these on afterwards so that it drains off the oil. That helps keep the skin on the outside nice and crispy. Now, you will notice in this video, they start to open up a little bit. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. As long as you've got the side that's sort of open at the top to begin with, you'll be fine. It will cook the corned beef inside so that it doesn't even come out. And as long as your oil is just high enough to sort of cook the tops a little bit, to crisp it up so it doesn't open, you're good. So just make sure your oil is high enough. Okay? And then just let that sit for a while. Like you can see there, it's starting to open now. But you also soon see when I turn them over, it doesn't come out into the oil at all. So I'm gonna Turn those in a minute. Almost ready. I like to just keep moving them around just to make sure it's going to be even. You know, you don't want one side to burn and one side not to. So I'm going to turn them over. You'll see how nice and crispy they are. There we go. And remember that bottom was open. Remember? You don't see any of that coming out into the oil. This is already cooked. And yeah, carry on with the rest until voila. Corned beef fried dumplings. God damn. They tasted so good. Anyway, thanks for joining my YouTube. Please subscribe and I'll see you on the next video.